Finding a job can be a long and arduous process, and despite what most people say, a lot of people don't get graduate positions straight out from university, and even more people wait 6 months, even 12 months to land their first role out of university. And I'm talking especially to the people that have their nice degree at the top of their CV or resume, but their work experience might just be populated with part-time retail jobs or unrelated work. And we're going to discuss how to maximize your CV, how to crush interviews, and most importantly, set yourself up to receive that job offer. So step number 1 is to understand the landscape that you are jumping into. We have to have understanding of the job market right now, and the job market right now is you are having hundreds, if not even thousands of applicants, of people just left university looking for their first time role, applying for one single job. If you go on LinkedIn and search more broader term job roles like maybe marketing exec or sales exec, you will see almost guarantee if the job has been up longer than 2 days, that job role will have more than 200 or 300 applications. So what can we deduce from this? The answer is very simple. What can we do to stand out? And one extra thing to take into consideration is that standing out may seem difficult, but again, we're in an environment where there's so many graduates that have the same degree and the same level of work experience. So yes, there's 200 or 300 people, but it seems to me, in my experience of hiring a junior marketing individual myself, that a lot of applicants are coming in with very similar baselines. So if we can, up the level even just 10-20%, we're standing out massively from the bulk of applications. We have to make it intriguing, and more so, we have to make it stand out to said recruiter. Definitely haven't just started recording on a different day, but we move. You might have the question, but I don't have any relevant experience at all. What can I do to stand out? How can I stand out? And it's a question that has an answer that nobody's going to like. Ultimately, we're building from the ground up. If you're a marketing graduate and you have no experience officially in marketing, unfortunately, we're going to have to experiment with some roundabout methods of getting some work experience. Now, catch-22, you don't have any experience, but you can't get a job because you don't have any experience, but you have no experience to start with. But there are a couple ways to work this one out that I don't think are too difficult to accomplish. If you have no problem working for free for a few weeks, why don't you volunteer at a local business, offer some services? Maybe you have a friend or family member that owns a business, or works for a smaller organisation that you know might need some additional help with things such as social media management, website development, things that you can step into and make a genuine difference in a very short amount of time. Then what you can do is write about that on your CV under this functions section and talk about the difference you made and frame it as if you had a job role. Again, we can't frame this as official work experience, but what we can do is list it on our LinkedIn profile. We can talk about it in our portfolio, and we can add it to the functions section in our CV to explain how in a short amount of time we had big impact. What this function section is set out to do is to dive a bit deeper into your skill set and give tangible examples of how you as an individual was able to take a problem, analyze it, sit down with it and work with it, and ultimately come out with a better outcome. I have one point in the function section of my CV regarding the university that I went to, where I co-led a team through a rigorous 2-month global competition surrounding business and marketing. It serves as a bit extra. It's not really something that can be added as a job role, and it's too small to put in the skills, hobbies, activities or project section that you would have right at the bottom, but it's still a notable achievement that deserves its own place. If you don't want to work for free, then you can always test your luck freelancing, set up profiles on Fiverr and Upwork, or again, do some cold outreach to businesses and offer your services as a freelancer. You're not going to attract a high rate, so if you see the videos on YouTube, people talking about this $75 an hour that they charge for them, you're not going to get the same amount of money. You're going to be getting an entry level base pay, and you might end up doing some grunt work. But again, all we're doing is building some work experience. And ultimately, we're building a story. We're building a storyline about how you stepped into an organisation, identified a pain point and actioned and completed it for a better outcome for that business. And what that proves to recruiters that are looking through your CV and your portfolio and your LinkedIn page, etc., is that you have credibility in a specific job function that they are advertising for, giving you a massive leg up against individuals that are applying with just their degree. You can even take it a step further and start to build a personal brand about a certain function. I may as well be a prime example of this. I'm building up a YouTube channel where I'm talking about marketing, I'm talking about career development, etc. A recruiter might stumble upon this and appreciate the time, effort and skill set that goes into making these videos, like the video editing, etc. and use that as a little tick in the tick box about why I would be a good fit for said role. Again, all these things aren't making a big difference, but when we are all at the same baseline of graduates just having a degree and unrelated work experience, these little things ultimately level you up and paint a much better picture against competition. Step 4 is the personal portfolio / personal website. I'll give you an anecdotal example of when I acted as a hiring manager and hired someone based off of their personal portfolio, not necessarily their CV. When I was reviewing applications for a position I was hiring for my marketing department at the company I work for, we were hiring for a junior creative marketing role, and we received well over 100 applications. I had to go through each one, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that those that included a personal portfolio that showed off a body of tangible work were, for me, miles ahead of the individuals that just wrote about it in their CV. Why is this? As someone who was hiring into my marketing department, I knew exactly what job functions had to be actioned upon. I knew the exact skill set that I wanted for this role. And there were a couple individuals' personal portfolios that proved to me that they had the tangible experience of producing said pieces of work. These individuals that presented me with tangible experience were miles ahead of those that just talked about it, and ultimately those were the people that I set a practical task to after interviewing them. That wasn't to say that there were applications where someone just presented a CV that was really good and they had a lot of experience, but again, I was hiring for a specific function, and when I was presented with examples of that function that was being executed upon in the past by that individual, it became very clear to me that that person was as proficient as they are claiming to be. And for this specific anecdotal example for a junior creative I was advertising for, this was the key in that person being able to go through the interview stages and eventually get hired. If the specific person that we hired didn't present me with a portfolio and a body of work, there's a very high, almost certain opportunity they wouldn't have been interviewed in the first place. So how do you build your own website? It's not some humongously complicated thing of where you have to know web development or I have to code my website. It's really not that difficult. You can use a free WordPress template and buy a domain for like £4 a year and customize that free WordPress template to your liking, include your work, write about it, give some context, talk about the pain points and what you actioned upon them to turn a pain point into a success story. And then boom, set your website as live, copy the link, put it in your CV, put it on your LinkedIn profile, etc. It's not too difficult. Some other things you can do if we talk about building a personal brand. Let's say you're a creative who specialises in web development and web design. You could set up a separate Instagram portfolio or a completely separate public Instagram account that you upload your work to show off, to talk about. There's so many platforms and so many social medias you can upload your work to. It's just a case of actually uploading the work to it, talking about it, and then linking it to the applications that you're making for various different companies. Because I know for certain there's so many people out there that have incredible work, but they only ever talk about that incredible work when they're in an interview. And they're really shooting themselves in the foot quite a few times by not talking about that work in their CV or in a personal portfolio that they're linking to their CV because you're missing out on impressing recruiters and getting invited to interviews in the first place. But ultimately, it is up to your discretion how far down the rabbit hole of personal branding you want to go. If you want to set up a TikTok account and make videos, if you want to set up a YouTube like I'm doing to talk about all this stuff, you can do so, but it's really not a necessity when you're just finding that first graduate role, because most recruiters probably aren't going to look at social accounts unless there's a reason to do so. But yeah, personal portfolio, talk about your work, really beneficial and will massively level you up against competition for the roles you're applying to. How to actually apply for jobs. So there isn't really a tactic I can go through for applying for jobs. I would just say value your time. With Indeed Easy Apply and LinkedIn Quick Apply, you can apply for 200 jobs in an hour if you really wanted to. And you can scattergun applications for hundreds of different job roles being advertised. Or you can spend an hour filling out 3 or 4 different long application forms talking about why you'd be a good fit and why you want to work for the company. It's up to you. I know which one I would rather do, but again, it's up to you. I would say, however, that being personable gets you the farthest. And by being personable, it's reaching out on LinkedIn to recruiters. It's by sending out personal emails to companies who might not actually have a position being advertised, but just offering your services and making them aware of who you are, what you can do for them, and just to make that first contact. But again, for now, we are working on the basis of we have no contacts, we have minimal CV, we've just graduated from university, we have no prospects. So the first port of action is to make first contact as much as you can. And again, that's not just through applying for jobs, it's reaching out to recruiters, it's reaching out to maybe agencies, maybe recruitment agencies if you really want to. You might end up getting 4 or 5 phone calls a day that ultimately lead nowhere, but we're doing whatever we can to get the first job role. I think the biggest thing you can do though is if someone's hiring for a role internally, so it's not being advertised through a recruitment agency, it's being advertised by maybe the head of marketing at an organisation or the head of sales at an organisation, you can see that on LinkedIn, then the best thing you can do alongside sending your application is writing to that person. Find out their email address and message them on LinkedIn as well. Hound them to make them aware of your increased interest in an interview to talk about why you would be the best fit for that job role. And inside of that LinkedIn message or that personal email, you have a couple paragraphs of your previous success and a link to an external resource like a portfolio. That is ultimately going to do much more than just applying and hoping. And at the very least, it shows attentiveness and friendliness, which ultimately is always going to get you in positive places. Step 6, the interview. Whoa, we got an interview. Whoa, what do we do? Oh my God, we got an interview. This is where the fun starts and a lot of the pain can come in, because a rejection email after an interview hurts so much more than a rejection interview from just applying to a company, because you've actually talked to someone. A lot of people think that the interview is going to be a lot easier than the application, and ultimately it's not. To ace an interview, ultimately it comes down to one thing and one thing only: positively reinforcing why you are the best fit for the job role. Interviewers will ask personable questions and will gauge how you respond. That's cool. But ultimately the bulk of the decision is making sure that you are actually a good fit for the job role and you can step in and make an impact. So always answering questions with that in mind, and always backing up a answer to a question with a tangible example is going to increase the chance of you being invited to second round interviews and ultimately being offered the job. And the last step 7, is reflecting and learning. If you get the job offer, cool, well done, congratulations. If you get a rejection email, and trust me, you will get a lot of rejection emails, use it as an opportunity to reflect upon the process and what you could have done better. It's so easy for self-doubt to creep in. It's so easy to think, I'm just not cut out for this. I've got 40, 50 rejection emails. Clearly something's wrong. I will never be the best fit. All these negative thoughts will come to mind. But the most important thing we can do is just take a huge step back from the situation and take a look at how are we applying, what we are applying for. Are we shooting a bit too high? Are we not including enough tangible information in our CV? Should we be pushing our portfolio more? Are we not doing enough outreach? There's always things that can be fine-tuned on a CV, on a portfolio, on how you're applying for jobs. And ultimately doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is a bit silly. And all you're doing is opening yourself up for more disappointment, which is never a good thing. This has been a comprehensive look at what I believe as a young person who struggled massively to get into their first job role, but is now blooming through and has acted as hiring manager, of how to actually get a job after university. Again, let's use this video as a point of discussion. Please comment down below any other strategies or any change-ups you made that you've seen had a significant impact in your success rate. Let's use this video as a sounding board and a tool ultimately to help those that are currently struggling a little bit with getting their first job role, because ultimately it is a hard market out there for young people, and it is easy to fall into a pit of despair while trying to get your first job. So it is exhausting, it is demoralizing, but once the job offer comes in, I promise you it is all worth it in the end. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, like the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in a bit. Stay safe. See you later.